Welcome to the Gyrl Podcast, the show that brings you inspiring guests who share practical tips and the highs and lows of their business and personal journeys. We are more than a podcast. We are a supportive community where women can come together to learn, share, connect, and uncover our ultimate glow-ups. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, your host, and thank you all for joining. How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. All right, so let's start with that. Happy Thursday. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. All right, so today I'm excited about the topic that we're going to discuss today. It is all about embracing change and how letting go can lead to incredible possibilities. And I have fantastic guests coming up, Laura Bowers, who is CEO and founder of the PMO Boss. Laura is an IT manager, IT program manager by trade, who reached corporate burnout status many years before doing something about it. After some self-discovery that included summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, she finally took the leap of faith to quit her 9-to-5 burnout job and launch an AI consulting company, the PMO Boss. Taking this chance has reinvigorated her career in all areas of her life. Now, I don't know about you, but I am very excited to talk to her about her journey. I mean, I think a lot of us are in places of, a lot of people are in places of trying to figure out like what's next. How do you create the life that you want? Maybe what you're doing today is not what you want to be doing forever. Maybe you are experiencing some burnout in your everyday job. Maybe you are looking for more adventure. Maybe you are looking to feel more reinvigorated in different aspects of maybe your career and your personal life. And you are saying, Kyra, my hands up, that's me. I want to know how. So, okay. And especially now, we're still early in the year. It's still early in 2024. So we still have that time to plan for, what we want 2024 to look like. So I am super excited to have this conversation with Laura. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl Podcast. I'm Kyra. Thank you all for joining. All right. I am so excited to welcome Laura to the podcast. Welcome in.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. Why don't you tell everyone listening or watching out there who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Laura. Thank you for the introduction. I have ended up being a corporate dropout, and I recently launched an AI consulting company. So AI is a big thing right now. So it's a super exciting time to be stepping into a whole new area of just technology and skills. And it's been really exciting.
Awesome. I love that. First of all, I love that you're a corporate dropout. I think it's something we should all aspire to.
Right.
It is, when I hear corporate dropout, what rings in my ears are the words free, freedom, opportunities, growth. So kudos to you.
Yes, it's the best promotion you can give yourself.
Yes. So let's talk about how did you get to the place that you are now? So what led you to these changes? Because I know you've gone through some changes in life and in your business to get to where you are today. Do you mind sharing with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing happens overnight, right? There was a time in my life where I was perfectly happy punching the clock, thinking that, that was going to be it. I'd found my path and I was just going to, be happy. I had a good salary and health benefits and just roll with it. Right. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest, it was COVID, right? That forced some personal reckoning. And during that time, my children were really young. I had a 2 and 5-year-old going into COVID, and I was an IT program manager. So when COVID hit, our demand skyrocketed. Our team had to completely 10x what we were doing overnight. And the amount of just uh, meetings and complications. And it's not even so much the challenges, like the technical challenges were not the problem. It was just this um, never ending demand and lack of gratitude along the way. I think that
Mhm.
really started to get to me when I was just like grinding and grinding and grinding,
Mhm.
and there was just no um,
Mhm.
empathy about it. Is probably the right
Yeah.
word. And so I got to this point where I'm just like, I was potty training. So it was like, I'm running to the bathroom, I'm running to a meeting,
Right.
I'm cleaning up a mess, right? Because they're not making it to the bathroom.
Right.
And I really had some moments of like, this can't be it. Like my life needs to be more meaningful
Mhm.
and exciting than this. But everything's a season, so we push through. But during that time, I was on Facebook and I got an ad, and the ad like it didn't quite say this, but the message was like, "Are you living your best life?" Right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was this leadership program, and it actually culminated with this adventure to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. And I am not a climber. Like I've never hiked. Like prior to that
Mhm.
experience, it's not like I was a hiker. I didn't have hiking boots, right? So this wasn't something I had always had on some vision board to do. It was completely out of left field for me, but it really hit me in a way that I'm like, I
Mhm.
have no adventure in my life. I have nothing I'm working towards. I'm not like leaning into personal development. So I ended up saying yes to that program, and it was a significant investment I had not planned for. So it was like broke out all the credit cards to make it happen. Like it was just
Mhm.
this calling almost to move forward with it. And through that, I really started evaluating my life and what I wanted and what gave me purpose. And a year and a half after that, I quit my job and opened the company.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I, first of all, congratulations,
Mhm.
because it takes a lot of courage to do what you did. And I think that, hearing you talk about, yeah, a lot, the reckoning for a lot of people was COVID. And I think just sort of like, hearing your story, because it was like you were working against everything that everyone else in the world was discovering at that time. Everybody else was sort of leaning into like the softer life and trying to like appreciate just the fact that like we were alive, and just like, let me just spend time with my family. And then you on the other side, because so much of everything was relying on people in the technology industry to keep us afloat, to like, and the fact that you were doing that and you were doing so much for the world, but you were being met with like no empathy in your day-to-day job. It was more just like, do, keep everything and everybody else afloat, but not really them pouring into you all, because you needed that same recovery time that everybody else in the world was getting. So I think like that's such an interesting moment. But what I do love is that you were open to a new opportunity and you embraced something like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro is like not on a lot of people's vision boards. Most people are going to be like, hikers, right? But the fact that you leaned into that. So I want to hear more about that experience for
Mhm.
you. And how did you walk into, did you ever feel like, I don't know?
Oh, absolutely. Right. Like when I did the little sales pitch with the company that I
Mhm.
did this with, um, it was very much like, there's no way I'm climbing a mountain. But like it was so exciting. This thought
Mhm.
of like doing something crazy that I went into research mode. I'm a program manager by trade. So I started like
Yeah.
looking up all the details, and
Yeah.
I was able to kind of evaluate that it is a relatively safe climb to make, because I did have kids. So that was my big thing, is like, I don't want
Mhm.
to be like on the top of K2 where, there's some tragic things that happen up on,
Yeah.
Everest. So I really evaluated the safety of it. And then Kilimanjaro is what they call a walk-up mountain. So it can be done with
Mhm.
no technical mountaineering experience.
Okay.
So it really is just about, being ready for the elements, right? Being able to layer and
Mhm.
taking your time. So the way to summit Kilimanjaro is to go slow. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
lessons just in that. Like the
Mhm.
slower you go, the higher your success rate is. They have a
Mhm.
lot of really younger people that will not feel the effects of the mountain the first day or two. and then they crash on like the third or fourth day because the altitude gets them. Uh, so it's a lot of listening to your body and being patient. And we didn't have our phones really, like we were using them for cameras and stuff, but the cell signal was limited.
Yeah.
Well, there is some cell signal on the mountain. It was limited. So it was a great experience of just like connecting with people. It was the people I was in the program with, I actually met in Tanzania for the most part,
okay.
first time in person. So it was like a great opportunity to connect with some folks I'd known mostly virtually. And then you, on top of that, have the whole cultural aspect of Tanzania, and you go with the guides and porters who are essentially your little mountain family for a week, because it's a week on the mountain.
Okay.
So you really get an opportunity to meet people and converse and learn and break bread. And it was just something I had not experienced that maybe at all in my life, but definitely not in my adult life, of that level of like just companionship and connection. So many lessons to doing something like that.
That I love that. And to something you said earlier on when you were talking about like, sort of going slow. And I just thought like, slow and steady wins the race, because and when you said like maybe some of the younger people were giving out, a couple of days in, and I was just sort of thinking about like, this world we live in, right? There are people, who are always seeking like something instant. And they want it fast. And it's like, let's do it now. Let me get there. And then there are, it's slow, it's steady. And then something you said earlier when you were speaking that really is something I live by. When you said it's a season. Like I definitely believe that, in our life, we have seasons. And, it's just a matter of being open to and then walking into what that season looks like for you. Like they won't all be fantastic. I mean, there's going to be challenge. There are going to be difficulties. There are going to be some tough moments, but there are seasons of joy and happiness, and where all the pieces and everything aligns for you.
Yeah, and not only that, can you really enjoy the seasons of joy and happiness if you haven't experienced the opposite, right? Like it's all that pain and effort and frustration that really lets you just soak in the good stuff. It's one of those kind of messed up things about the human experience.
I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you because I think that, as I look at, 2023, I mean, from my own personal experiences, from conversations that I've had with other people, I mean, 2023 in itself was a season that a lot of people are like, I'm done. Like, let's get out of it. Let's go to something else. And then coming in 2024, I think I remember telling somebody maybe within like the first week, I was like, nope, unsubscribe, because it's feeling like 2023-ish and I don't want it. Like, we don't want this again. Let's do something different. So I definitely think, like you said, you have to be open to the lessons and to be able to embrace the learnings.
Yeah.
Because even in the pain, there are opportunities to become stronger and to develop and to gain something that you can take. So when you do enter a season of joy and happiness, then you appreciate it that much more.
Yeah. I love all that. It's you don't get to where you're going without facing a lot of these things, right? And you don't know what that looks like. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to end up, right? I don't know what's still coming around the corner for me. But that's what it is.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about when you decided. So you said, okay, I'm going to leave the corporate world. I'm going to leave the stable job. I'm going to leave the insurance. I'm going to leave all that well-paying job. What was most challenging for you as you decided to make the transition?
Yeah, it's almost like what was not challenging. But I think mentally, it's making it all line up. Like I did a lot of financial exercises because, I was not in a position of having like a big self-funding opportunity, right? So I had to like look at loans, and I had to look at way to access funds, and there was just a lot of risk involved in this, right? Like it really is stepping into betting on myself. And luckily I had done the work leading up to that decision to feel comfortable. Well, so once I made the decision, I'm like, all right, we're gonna
doing
go
it.
for it. And ultimately my company still, we're in our humble beginnings, right? So we're still, emerging and growing. So I did get to a point where I'm like, well, if it doesn't work out, so what? So what? Just, use the skills you have, go back and get a job, and it's not the end of the world. And I think like when I finally got to that breakthrough, if you will, I was able to step into things much easier and then just start to be like, okay, what do I need to learn? Who do I need to be, accessing? I've invested in some coaches to help me speed things up because I don't have the luxury of time, right? I don't have this big long runway to make things work. So I've leveraged expertise, and that's helping me navigate things, I think, at a pace I could never have done on my own. So those of all, like, it's the learning curve. It's accepting the risk. It's not getting caught up in the risk. Like, I can't think about that every day or I would be paralyzed, right? I need to move forward.
Yeah. Okay, Laura, I just want to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you for that, because there are so many people, obviously a lot of people who listen and watch this show are people who are professionals, but a lot of times they are entrepreneurs on the side, and they have the hopes of walking, into their own businesses. And I think a lot of times the things that you mentioned, the fear that, holds us back from taking that risk of saying, like, I'm going to step out on my own. And I think a lot of times we want it to be perfect, right? We want to already be making like enough money to supplement our salary. And we want to have all those things in place in order for us to leave. But most times it doesn't work that way. Most times you might be making some money, but you might not be making the money. But what I loved about what you said was that, you know what, I'm going to do this. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to use the skills I have, and I may have to go back to a job. And I think that is the thing that a lot of times because I think people would see it as you're already thinking about, oh my gosh, it's going to look like a fail. Whereas I'm a person who I feel like you can always like life is full of moments to pivot, right? And if something doesn't work, then you do something different. And I love that, because I think that's excellent advice. And you took and you said, I'm going to bet on myself. And I think more of us need to have that courage to bet on ourselves.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if you're not going to win for yourself, it's not going to happen. Right. It becomes such a mindset game, right? I think so much of the hesitation and the, it needing to be perfect. Like, you want to go to your family dinner and be able to say you're crushing it, but that's not realistic. Like, you're not going to necessarily crush it the first even year or two, right? Like, when you really start to listen to some of these people who are crazy successful, they all have these crazy stories of hardship and, sacrifice of how they actually got there. There's, you might hear the occasional person who's just well off and makes it, right? Or hits on social media and they just skyrocket. But that's not the normal path and story. Like, that's a few lucky people get something like that. And maybe that could be one of your listeners. I hope it is. But but the reality is that it just takes grit.
Doesn't always happen that way. And it just comes with like being open. Like you said, it's a mindset, and it's like being open to and sort of embracing the opportunities, but also like embracing the challenges as well. Because it's the only way you're going to get better and grow. And I also like another thing that you said that I think is so important, and talk about this a whole lot. It's investing in yourself and putting the right people around you. And then so many people are like, I don't need a coach. I don't need this. But it's like together you can move faster with people who don't know, like what you don't know. So why not bring somebody else around you that knows those things and can help you move faster?
Yeah, I mean, it's blind spots, right? You can't see everything. And then I had an experience where I was talking to one coach and I was walking through something and I was just like, why would this happen? And like, I couldn't rationalize it in my head. He said one sentence to me and I was like, oh, yeah, that's like so obvious. But it's something that I did like racking my brain for, months. It like, really, it's not possible. I'm not gonna be able to make this work. Like, nobody's gonna do this. And then he's like, well, you just do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just do that. Like, that's so simple. And it was like, the solution like wouldn't cost me money. It wouldn't, like, it was just so obvious. It was like, and I literally said, I was like, this is why people hire coaches, isn't it? Got it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So yeah, so I definitely love that. So if someone out there now is listening or watching and they're thinking, I'm hearing Laura's story, I'm inspired by this.
Mhm.
I'd love to do this for myself. What would you say is the first piece of advice you give someone who just might be in that place of, they're teetering on the line?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a two-phased kind of advice is really work on your mindset, right? If you are not in a place where you can fully like jump in and believe in yourself, you need to kind of evaluate why, right? So I think some of it, and I did this for months leading up to it. So this is like what helped me so much is that I was able to look at my life in a way of what do I want? What are my values? Am I going to be able to get the type of life I want doing what I'm doing today? And, you asked yourself those questions and the answers became very apparent to me that like, no, I'm not going to have the freedom I want. I'm going to, I'll end up at a desk 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. And that doesn't give me the freedom to be as engaged in my kid's lifestyle I want and all these things.
Mhm.
So then I started, you almost reverse engineer it. It's like, how can I then create the life that gives me that? And for me, it is through entrepreneurship, through many people. That's going to be the answer. And then it's just, looking at the building up the belief system, right? So looking at your skills of what you can actually monetize. And when you do that work ahead of time, taking the risk becomes so much less scary because you're building up a belief system all around what you're capable of. And then not being afraid of the failure, right? Like if the first thing you do doesn't work, so what? Right? Like sometimes you gotta like go to bat a couple times before something's gonna hit. And if the life you want is worth it, then it doesn't matter how many at bats you take.
Yeah, I love that. See, Laura, are you in my head? Because girl, because you say the bats, I always say I throw stuff at the wall. If it doesn't stick, then we move to something else. We do something different. But yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about what the work you do today with your company. So what type of work is it? Who do you normally work with? And how could anybody listening or watching connect to you or maybe even work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple things that we're focusing on. The one that I'm really excited about and may appeal most to this audience is that I've established a community called AI Simplified, which helps entrepreneurs leverage AI in ways that is not overwhelming or confusing because the news is so out of control and like every day there's a new AI something you can buy or a program or this or that. And I guess I'm somewhat guilty of that, but ours is aimed at keeping things simple. Like you don't need to know every last thing about every tool to do 2 or 3 things that are going to move the needle in your social media strategy, right? Or the 2 or 3 things that are going to help you do the market research. Like, so we're creating a very targeted approach, kind of for people who are a little bit unsure of what to do with it, right? And that's, we do monthly trainings and Q&As, and we try to work with people to give them like the 2 prompts they need, not the 500 prompt package, right? Like just do this, like you can always build on it, but to get started, here's the clear things you need. So we have that. And then we are also working with health and wellness companies where we're doing like more of a full-blown business assessment of where they can integrate AI to improve patient experiences, or customer outcomes, because we're covering everything from medical, dental to like spas, acupuncture, right? So we're working with those kind of businesses to do more advanced integrations and really get into some of the things that technology can do. So it's super exciting. Like there's so much to cover. But the website is the way to get to me. It's the PMOBoss.com. And there's a registration link for the masterclass for the entrepreneurs. So if that is of interest, we do a free masterclass to kind of give you a taste. And then you can, see if it's something that you think you can learn from.
Awesome. I love that. And I'll be sure to put those links in the show notes as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I think that's, I love that it's simplified because I think there are so many people who are afraid of AI, just like you said, the news. There's always something on the news, and it's always everything that you mostly hear is like the news always, media makes it sound scary. And it's like, no, it's not like, and it's still like, there are ways that AI can help make things a lot easier for people in your lives. And it's just, you have to understand it. And guess what? If you don't know how to do it, there are people who can help you.
Well, and not only that, like AI is one of these things, like it's not going back into the box it came out of. So it is really in your best interest to learn some of the basic foundations of it and get a little bit more comfortable, because it's not going away.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And I think that it's awesome that you're doing that and taking that approach to help people, people first. So awesome. All right. I'm going to ask you one other question about what is the best part about entering into this chapter of your glow up? Because you've got a lot going on. You're very inspiring in your story and the journey. And what is the best part about all this for you?
Yeah, I think the best part is that I just feel alive again. I got to that point in motherhood and career stuff where I was just on autopilot, is really the easiest way to say it. And now, after Kilimanjaro, it was like, well, what's the next adventure? Right. So since then, I've done a lot of cool things, and I'm working on a marathon that I'm going to be doing in France in summer. So like, I have actually made a personal commitment to me to not get boring again. Right. Like I was boring and now I'm doing this business thing. I'm learning nonstop. It's just, it's feeding me in a way that wasn't happening a few years ago.
Oh, I love that. I love that for you. All right. So, okay, this is great. Like, I mean, if you're not inspired by Laura's story, then I don't know what's going to get you. I don't know what's going to move you, because just listening to you and hearing you speak, I mean, you are so relatable, and it's so relatable to so many people's lives who are working every day in corporate America, because when you work in corporate, you are 9 to 5, it's a routine. And if you truly take a step back and look at it, and I think you said something so important. It's like, is this life you want? And if it's not, how do you create the life you want? And figure out how to make that happen for you. So thank you so much for all the great nuggets on that today. So now, Laura, we're going to move into 3 things with Laura. I'm going to ask you 3 questions that's going to help our audience get to know you just a little bit better. This first question is my favorite. It's a 2-parter. I love to set it up that way. Hey, I'm going to ask you 3 questions, but the first one's a 2-parter. So
wait, take it in there.
Right. The first question is, how do you start and end the day?
Yeah. So this is something I struggle with. Well, it's particularly in the mornings. It took me a while to realize I'm not a morning person. As much as I have tried, it's just, I haven't figured out how to hack it. But I do have the kids. So I actually only get up a little bit before them and run through the school routine. And then once they leave, I will do some type of fitness, something. And then I will get to my desk. So it's a little bit of a later business start. But when you're an entrepreneur, you never really stop. So I've been able to accept that that's not really a bad thing, right? To not have this perception that I need to be at my desk at 5 a.m. and going.
Right.
So that's kind of the routine. It's kids, fitness, business. And then part of my morning kickoff includes doing a little bit of part journaling, part planning of what's going on. And that's helping me stay really kind of connected to what has to get done. Because there's a lot of challenges around staying organized. And then in the evening, I typically, it's again, my routines are really centered around my kids right now. So I hope to optimize them as they age. But we'll do a little bedtime routine. Then I take care of the dogs. I'll go back to my computer for about 20 minutes to just kind of close out anything that, any last emails that are on my mind, right? Anything that I just need to button up to clear my mind. And then it's bed. It's bed.
I like it. All right. The second question is, what's a goal or intention that you have set for yourself this year?
Yeah. So discipline. This is a big year for me in the business, right? I transitioned out of corporate not even a year ago. So I feel like I'm going into 2024 on steady feet. We actually have products that are available. So last year was a lot of development of that. And now they're out in the market and we're trying to push them. So it really is about hitting some financial goals, and that is going to require just discipline. It just staying focused, not letting, for all you moms out there, not letting the kids get the best of my time. Like it's a huge challenge battling the guilt of not giving your kids the time, but I need to focus on this business so they can ultimately have more of my time later.
Yeah.
So it's a constant, boundaries are a little harsh, but it's a constant assessment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The discipline.
Yes. And that's important. I'm glad that thank you for being honest about that, because it is important. Like you're setting up for the future. You're preparing now so that you do have more time for them in the future. And right now there's like you mentioned earlier, there are some sacrifices that may have to happen right now in order to get you to the place where you want to be.
Yeah.
All right. And last, so let's a book, a podcast, a show, or anything right now that you are enjoying or that's inspiring you in this moment.
Okay. So I have been going through books a lot just because in the entrepreneurial journey, you're like consuming. So I just finished and I will say it was very inspiring. It was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, my own words. So she, just listening to that, you take one person's life and what was accomplished in that life. And I think, I don't have aspirations to be on the Supreme Court, but it really just kind of highlights what is truly possible when you apply yourself. And like, just, that woman changed the course of history, right? Like of rights, and it just extreme impact, right? And so if I can even hit like a little bit of impact by helping businesses, like if the businesses I work with become more efficient, they will be able to spread their impact further, right? Their consumers will have a better experience. And it really is, it's all about positive impact for me. Like this is a huge opportunity to use a technology to become more human. And I think that if I can like spread that out across as many companies as possible, then, I can check out at the end of my days and be like, all right, we did something good.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right. And Laura, again, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you. I'm very inspired myself by your story. And I've taken a lot of notes in my head and a lot of nuggets that I'm going to use as I move forward in my entrepreneurial career journey as well. But before you go, I would like for you to leave the audience with 3 things you'd like for us to take away from this conversation today.
All right. Things I'd love for people to take is not to be scared of failure, embracing risk, and hire a coach.
Yes. Those are all fantastic. I love those. All right. Well, Laura, thank you again. You can always come back here because for one, we need to hear more about these adventures that you're on. This marathon. Okay. So we need to know more about that. So please feel free to come back anytime in the future to share with us again.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me share my story today.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl Podcast. I want to thank Laura again for joining the show today. What a fantastic story and so inspiring. I loved everything about what she said, and it's so great to just hear someone talk about their journey of, and the challenges and, the things that she did to actually get to the point of creating the life that she had envisioned for herself and her family. So I think that, if you're someone out there and you're listening, you are someone who works in the business world, someone who is an entrepreneur who wants to, ultimately walk away from a job and walk into your business full time. I think Laura left us with a lot of great tips and nuggets that we can use to help us walk into life, into that next step. But I think one of the things that she said that I really liked was, really not being afraid to take the risk, right? Because I don't know about you all, but I know I'm a planner and I like, I'm one of those people that's like, I want everything to be as perfect as they can be when I, decide to do something. And, I take small risks where you will hear me say on the show a lot of times that like, oh, I'll throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. It's normally like small things related to the business. It's not like I will quit my job and go into my business full time. But I think the conversation today definitely leaves us with something that we can think about as we look at our lives and where we want to be. So no matter if you are someone who, if you don't have a business and you're just thinking, I want to find more adventure, maybe it's like she did, it's climbing a mountain, or it is, running a marathon, it's doing something, it's traveling, like whatever that looks like for you. But this conversation gives you, I think, a good framework to help you figure out what that might be for you. Okay. All right. So check out the links, my friends, in the show notes if you want to learn more about Laura and her business and how to connect to her. If you want to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can listen to past podcast episodes, sign up for our email newsletter, grab our social links, resources, and more. If you are listening on a platform where you can leave us a review, I hope that you would do so, or if you could rate us, please feel free to do that as well. If you have ideas or topics you want me to cover, if you know people who you think would be a great guest on the show, feel free to send me an email at hello@glowupgirl.com, or you can reach me on Instagram at glowupgirl. Send me a DM. Also, if you have friends, family, or coworkers that you think would benefit from the amazing guests that come on this show, feel free to share. Sharing is caring. After all, don't keep all this podcast goodness to yourself. And then also, if you are sharing any of our posts on your social media platforms, make sure you tag us. We'd love to see it. And we thank you so much for sharing the word on this podcast. All right, so that's going to get it for us today, friends. And guess what? Today it's a leap day, right? So this is closing out the month of February, which is so many things. It's Black History Month. It was my birthday month. And it's a great, I love February, right? Not just because I was born in February, but I don't know. I just love the month, I think. I don't know. I just like it. Y'all don't have a reason, okay? Don't judge me. I don't have a reason. But anyway, friends, as always, thank you so much for spending time with me today and taking time out of your schedule to listen in. I will see you all next time. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.